It's right on early, right here on channels, television across Nigeria as well. Welcome to the morning brief. I'm Jeffrey Usawa.
Yes, it's great.
Super excited, man.
Yeah. Especially because Kadi is back. Good morning and welcome. It's the morning brief on channels television. I am Bukola Kuka, and it's a three-man show again today.
Three-man?
Yeah.
I guess I'll take that. As you can tell, we're up bright and early. Welcome to the breakfast show. Goodness me. It was like something was taken away from me all the while I wasn't here. But it's great to be back. I'm Kayode Okikilo, and I appreciate you guys for holding the fort. Come on.
It's our work.
We missed you.
Oh,
and it's great to have you back, Kayode.
It's good to have you. So how have you been?
Well, fantastic, I must say. Seeing what's going on, trying my best not to watch the show and watching the show at the same time is a very tough place to be.
Yeah.
Really, when they have to say, no, don't use your gadgets. And like, I have to. I don't want to think. Well,
we sent out counsel on the first day of your absence that you shouldn't watch the show for any reason.
I obviously didn't listen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's hard to listen. But me, I used to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I'm quite nocturnal. So when I wake up, like, I don't know, I snooze like 3 times. Like, the alarm wakes me, I say, come on, wait, I'm sleeping. It wakes me again, yes, another 10 minutes. I say, I want to continue this sleep, just give me a little moment. But it's good to have you back.
It is great.
And I'm sure you've been watching what's been going on in Nigeria with all of this. So what do you make of what's going on?
What do I make of what's going on? It's a very tricky one to ask. I think it is what it is. I think Nigerians have been protesting for months on end, really. I think it's just now that some are waking up to it. When you go to the market, Nigerians are protesting because the price of the item they bought yesterday is not the same price today. So they protest at that moment. They protest right now at filling stations, I must tell you. Nigerians have been protesting, some for even months, because there's been petrol scarcity. Some are buying it for as high as 800 plus 900 naira. So Nigerians have been protesting, whether they are trying to get petrol for transport, whether they're trying to get it to do their business or to fuel their generator and set at home. Nigerians have been protesting in their homes, in their businesses, the tough business conditions. Even the richest black man had sort of protested against the high interest rate. So imagine for smaller businesses how they're getting by. So for me, I really think, bless you, Jeff, Nigerians have been protesting for months. In fact, some for over a year now. So I think it's just like another day in the office for Nigerians, really.
And, you know, it was quite an interesting weekend, a weekend of SIM, you know, lines being blocked.
Yeah.
And
Nigerians protested against that
as well. I wonder, you know, what the reason for the blockade, or is it blockage of lines? Well, seemingly, but not for me, because my line has been blocked as well. And I can hear from, you know, 1 or 2 persons who are also, you know, sharing that experience. And, you know, that letter by the Senior Advocate of Nigeria to the NCC is quite instructive, asking why it is at this time, particularly because, you know, some Nigerians had duly re-registered and, you know, linked their NIN to their lines quite a long time ago. So why is it coming just a few days to the protest is an instructive question to ask. And, you know, the different factions, different positions to the nationwide protest is a testament to, you know, how divisive the country may be at this point in time. But we must unite on the same and important issues. You know, hunger knows no group, hunger knows no tribe. Hunger knows no political affiliation, and Nigerians are on the same page on that one. Jeffrey.
At the end of the day, I think the greatest counsel we're going to talk about this extensively is to advise the president. I don't know what his handlers are doing or telling him. I think it's time for him to step out of that office and speak to young Nigerians. It's going to make a world of difference, if you ask me. That's how, if you remember way back, Goodluck Jonathan, former president, when Boko Haram started, he was dilly-dallying until classify these guys, they are terrorists. The man delayed, perhaps seeking re-election or thinking of his re-election, and it cost him his government at the end of the day when a series of events, including insecurity, removal of fuel subsidy. We can go back to former President Muhammadu Buhari. Remember COVID? We're looking for our president. He refused to talk to us. We're looking for Buhari for almost a month. The man did not show up. Until his aides were talking, everybody was talking. Then when the president showed up and give that restriction, everything changed. And then we can go to NTAS. Everything was cool and going on. President did not say anything. That carnival-like NSAS protest went on for like a month. And there were speeches. Even Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, visited the site. That's when we had the issue of Sorosoke and all of that. Yeah. Until, for whatever reason, a curfew was imposed, and then the security agencies went in, and things escalated, and we now have a blight on that particular NSAS. But something triggered it. And now we're here again. The pulse of the nation is screaming, President, talk. Don't wait until it gets bad before you talk. That's my counsel.
Well, bad will now be relative, Jeffrey, because all the economic indicators are not looking good at this point in time. And, you know, it's instructive if Nigerians are asking questions and demanding some form of accountability, you know, where, you know, their rights to the dividends of democracy, you know, are concerned. So well, the most important thing at this point in time is that Mr. President should address Nigerians. If things are going right, Nigerians will speak up. If things are going wrong, as they evidently are, Nigerians will also speak up. Yeah.
There you have it. So, what do we have for you on the show this morning? I think it's time to unpack. I imagine that you already have an inkling as to what the major conversation will be on the show this morning. So, big question, will it be a launch pad for progress and prosperity, or a recipe for pandemonium? Well, that's the biggest question in Nigeria today about the planned End Bad Governance protest. So, join us as we delve into the heart of the agitation. The stakes are high, well, the tension is palpable. So is it the calm before the storm? Well, what we know is that the future of Nigeria is on the table.
Indeed, and that's not all. As if to make a bad situation worse, fuel scarcity, which has lingered for weeks, now bites even harder. High prices, endless queues, other filling stations shut, making all those relying on petrol either for transportation and running their businesses frustrated. Is this the new status quo for Nigerians to get used to in spite of our emerging refining capacity? Let's find out together this morning.
Well, it appears the hardship and the difficulty has its foot across border. A group of young Nigerians who are meant to be on government-funded scholarships are now going through hardship outside the country over what they say is their government's inability to fund adequately their studies under the bilateral education arrangement. And we'll be talking about that today. Why will people who are on scholarship, like the picture you're seeing, is supposed to be studying his books, but right now he's doing menial jobs just to survive?
Well, it's quite a lot on our table this morning, and that's what you expect of a breakfast, at least a properly prepared breakfast. So you can be a part of the show this morning. We're tracking all of your reactions across social media, and your comments are up soon, right after the top stories in just about 10 plus minutes. So keep them coming in, hashtag CTV Morning Brief, as you have right there on the screen, or you can just head to WhatsApp right now. That is a WhatsApp number with which you can send us your messages, videos, comments, just messages and videos and comments only, no calls. So you be a part of this show. Let us have these conversations together. Either it's a fuel situation, the planned protest, even your SIM. That's if you have internet.
I was looking through Twitter or X. It appears I'm looking through one of the networks, and all I see is get connected in an instant, visit their agent or whatever. Unblock your SIM, your line, because this is for you. Unblock your line anytime, anywhere. Yeah, easy steps. So it's perhaps they knew what they were doing. I thought this was a technical glitch or something.
It obviously wasn't, because this affected a lot of people.
Because
most of them already even,
yes,
as you said, they had linked.
Yes, I know someone who's 3 lines. This is a business, 3 lines. I think we should start suing these people. When they start paying, I think they will calm down.
So maybe that will be another venue for protest.
So Nigerians, go sue them. That's my counsel.
Okay, there you go. Obviously, their offices will be full this morning.
Making an already complicated matter even more complicated. Do Nigerians have the resources to go suing telecommunications
when you institute a class action and they part with 10 billion, they will learn next time.
You wonder if class action is a thing in Nigeria yet again. You've seen it work in other climes, but in Nigeria, class action?
A young man got 5 million from one of the telcos.
But
so,
wasn't a class action.
No, it's just a guy who knew his right and went to court and they got a judgment. So if like even 10, 15, 20, 100 people will stay class action and you have to pay judgment debt of 20 billion as a telco, you will calm down.
All right.
We'll see how that plays out.
Try it. Let's see how it goes.
We'll arrange it.
Okay.
So stay with us right here with the top stories. These are stories that will be shaping the conversation today and in the coming days. So don't miss out. Stay with us. Stories at this hour as the clock continues to tick and the day for the planned End Bad Governance nationwide protest draws closer. Human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Ebolu Adeburua, has asked the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, to probe telecoms operators alleging disconnection of subscribers. In a statement, Mr. Adeburua warned telcos should not attempt to sabotage a forthcoming protest against economic hardship in Nigeria by restricting internet access among displeased citizens. Or part of a statement reads, for the past few days, some telecom companies have been disconnecting their subscribers for flimsy and untenable reasons. And he goes on to say that from all indications, it would seem that the underlying target of the telecom companies is to limit the reach of their customers in order to restrict access and thus frustrate the protests. Thousands, if not more, of Nigerians have taken to social media to report that their lines have been barred for various reasons. And still on that planned protest, northern governors are calling on the Nigerian youths to desist from that planned nationwide protest, saying they shall channel their energies into constructive dialogue with government and not to allow some disgruntled individuals use them to advance their political agenda in the name of protest. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa and his counterpart from Kaduna State, Mr. Obasani, in their separate appeals called on Nigerians to pray for peace, unity and progress.
An appeal to all of you, especially our youth and labor organizations, to shelve the idea of this protest in Nasarawa State. In addition, to appeal to our security agencies, to be ready to work with people who, in case anything like that will come up.
Continue to collaborate and dialogue with the government and stay away from any act that can destabilize the peace and progress of our state. That is my call to all the students sitting here. And I can see the students sitting here. I have no doubt in my mind. When coming into this very important hall, I've seen placards, no protest. You are welcoming dialogue. And for me, that is the way to go.
Well, let's check on the other side now. One of the arrowheads of the planned End Bad Governance protests against economic hardship has been speaking on plans ahead of a demonstration at the nation's capital this time. Damilare Adenola, the director of mobilization of Take It Back movement, a non-governmental organization who was reacting to the FCT minister's Yesam Wike's statement on the use of Eagle Square for the protest, says the facility is a public property and the minister of the FCT has no choice than to allow youths demonstrate their displeasure there. He was a guest on our political program, Sunday Politics.
The agitation emanated from Twitter, and the Take It Back being an organization which has been responsible for organizing several protests in this country, pro-human rights protests in this country, and has consistently called out thoughtless government policies in this country, only felt that, oh, this is why we started this organization, and we should be here, we should be on ground to give support to Nigerians who are saying...
How much have you been able to put together for this for the organization?
How much?
Yeah, in terms of monetary support that you have gotten.
I'm not aware we have gotten any monetary. We are not doing this for monetary support, so I don't think we should be having...
But people are supporting, isn't it?
People are supporting themselves, as far as I'm concerned. In fact, very recently, the account of the TIB was arbitrarily blocked. It is also right to say that there are supports from human rights organizations who exist for this purpose. You understand? So trying to, fish out who the organizers are is very immaterial to the condition of the Nigerian people. The truth is that the Eagle Square is a public property. And when I saw the video of the minister, I was amazed because I saw the minister asking us to pay rent, pay security fees. My question to the minister is that how does the minister expect Nigerian youths, a greater population of Nigerian youths who are impoverished, who are unemployed, who have no jobs to afford the exorbitant amount is requesting for us to pay?
So whatever happens, you will go ahead to
We are
use Eagle
going
Square.
to be at Eagle Square.
But it's always locked,
August 1st.
with security.
Of course, we would speak to them if they have the interest of the people. If they really, have the will to serve us, then they should be willing to provide that venue for us. Security agencies, if they are sincere, should be available. They should be on ground on the day of the protest. And if they sense any form of bringing violence, they should be there to arrest the situation.
As one of the leading groups, so you cannot guarantee that this will not go south.
The security agencies should be able to guarantee if they are sincere and they want to show, this is an opportunity for them to show their competence.
And more divergent opinions are being expressed, this time amongst political leaders, as the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, and the governor of Abia State, Alex Otti, have expressed divergent opinions about the planned nationwide protest scheduled for August across the country. Speaking with Channels Television during a courtesy visit at Dr. Alex Otti's country home in Vosi, Isialangwa South local government area, Mr. Obi said the hunger protest was a constitutional right of the citizens, saying the sponsors of the protests is hunger, hunger, hopelessness amongst the youth.
Within the Nigerian constitution, protest is allowed. All I plead for those who are protesting is to do so within the law and in a civil manner that allows us as a nation to show that we live within the law. Everybody knows the things that are difficult. I always say, when they talk about sponsors of the protest, I say the sponsors are very simple. It's hunger. It's hopelessness among the youths. So we all have to listen to what Nigerians are going through. And I thank our governor for doing so. It is critical and important. Okay. Well, what I said to security agencies is that we will then them ensure that they manage the situation, again, within the law. We should not try to be overbearing. It should be something that we do within the law. There's nothing wrong. Protest is allowed everywhere globally. And I also say people protest in my house. And it's for us to listen to those who are protesting. Why are they protesting? Engage them. That's what governance is all about.
On the flip side, in fact, just right next to him, the Abia State Governor, Mr. Alex Otti, while acknowledging that the planned protest is legitimate and the hunger is real, expressed worry that there is no assurance that the proposed protest will be conducted in an orderly manner.
Requires that you get approval from the security forces, particularly the police. And somebody should take responsibility for getting that approval. So if you don't have the approval, then it will be against the law for you to go out on the street to protest. So my final word is that people should think about the implications of pouring out on the streets, restricting movement of other people, and possibly inflicting harm and more hardship on the people. For people in Abia, my advice is that people should not pour out on the streets.
And more on that planned protest, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NAN, says that Nigerian students will not participate in planned protests, saying the body will not participate or support any protest that can lead to anarchy and wanton destruction of livelihoods. Arising from its 84th National Senate sitting, the leadership of the students' body noted that they are mindful of the hardship Nigerians are grappling with, but believes violent protests will not solve but add to that burden. Well, in the same vein, security stakeholders in Oyo State have called for peaceful protests across the state, noting that violence and destruction of public property cannot produce any good result. So, while all of those conversations are ongoing, there's still the very present challenge of insecurity, as suspected Boko Haram terrorists have attacked Jakana police station in Konduga local government area of Borno State, killing a police driver and a woman. The terrorists also set ablaze 2 patrol vehicles belonging to the police and members of civilian joint task force, and a motorcycle, even as some arms and ammunitions were carted away by the insurgents who were on a rampage. Located 35 kilometers along Maiduguri-Damaturu Road, Jakana has been a pathway for the insurgents for years and has remained so. And staying in that area, well, this time around, we're looking at another area with a population of about 50,000 refugees, displaced persons resettled in Bagat town in Kukau local government area, Borno State in the last 5 years. And it looks like life is finally returning to the famous fishing and agricultural value chain hub in the Lake Chad Basin. Surrounded by the Lake Chad waters, Bagat town, communities in Kukau and other local government areas along the fringes of Lake Chad have, however, continued to grapple with the presence of Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists and their activities. More stories now. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to account for over 100 billion naira dirty and bad notes and other large sums of cash awaiting examination, which are kept in various branches of the Apex Bank. In a statement issued, the Deputy Director of SERAP, Mr. Kolawole Oluwadare, criticized the Apex Bank for not providing information about the location of the mentioned amount. He said the group approached the Federal High Court in Lagos seeking an order to compel the CBN to direct and compel to explain the whereabouts of over 100 billion dirty and bad notes kept in various branches of the bank. And there you have it, the People's Democratic Party, which you saw earlier in Edo State, raising concerns over alleged bias by the Edo Police Command in carrying out their duties. The chairman, PDP Edo State Chapter, Anthony Ezegbemi, who spoke about the issues at the party's secretariat in Benin City, the state capital, said the party is petitioning the Inspector General of Police to look into their allegations. He cites the example of the Edo Police Command arraigning the media coordinator of a governorship campaign council, Olu Martins, over comments not as serious as that of the APC chairman, Jared Tenebe, who was not even arrested, he says. And outside the country, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has vowed to hit the enemy hard after rocket fire from Lebanon killed 12 young people in the Israeli-annexed Golan Heights, and again raised fears that the war in Gaza might just spread. Iran warned Israel any new military adventures in Lebanon could lead to unforeseen consequences. Western powers, including France and Germany, condemned the attack and appealed for calm. The EU called for an independent probe into what Israel's army is calling the deadliest attack on Israeli civilians since the October 7 attack that began the war in Gaza. And sports news quickly. Nigeria's Super Falcons currently sit at the bottom of their group in the Olympics with 0 points after the latest 1-0 loss, this time to Spain in their second match of the Paris Games, making it back-to-back defeat for the Super Falcons after losing to Brazil in their opening match. The team made a few changes to their start against Brazil, with Asisa Toshola, who made her first appearance at this Olympics, and Esther Okoronko replacing Onyi Echegini and Chiwendu Uzo, respectively. But the reigning world champions displayed dominance in the first half, leaving little room for the Falcons to counter-attack. The Spanish side's attack led to 4 saves by relentless Chiamaka Nadozie, but a direct free kick from 2-time Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas in the 85th minute caught her off guard and earned Spain the winner. Well, looks like they still have a slim chance. We'll see how their next final group game plays out. But what are you saying about the top stories, from the planned protests to the seams being barred and others? Well, Bukola joins me as we walk through your comments on social media. Okola, what do you have for us?
Hello again, Kayode. The planned nationwide protest is still the biggest talking point for Nigerians, plus a bit of politics, and guess what? The repackaging of palliatives meant for distribution for sale in Kogi State.
Oh dear.
Nigerians are talking about that as well. But we're starting, of course, with the planned nationwide protest. And the first talking point specifically is about the president's daughter warning parents, or telling parents to warn their children not to protest in Lagos. And she says, let my father rule for 3 years before you complain. So that's her speaking to market women now. And the first person reacting this morning is the Duke, who says, why the proactiveness against this protest? There are better things ravaging our country that the government needs to be proactive about. I heard her say before we complain, it should be up to 3 years. Please ask her, is there any benchmark of time to know when a government performs?
Well,
that's
Pascalito.
A good question.
Yeah, Pascalito incidentally has more questions to ask. And the first one says, was the state of the country this way before he came in? With this way, we're going to last 3 more years. So more questions. Are we going to last 3 more years? Thank you, Bukola.
And this next one is from Omobola, who says, they don't even think of people that are going through a lot. I guess they're trying to say before they eat and make ends meet. So people need to wait till it gets worse after 3 years. Well, I wonder where we'll reach the limit of the definition of worse.
Right.
Because before May 29, 2023, Nigerians were already going through intense hardship.
Well,
so where is the rock bottom?
That's a big question. Adams Omobori ends by saying that this, whatever it's going to be, should be done peacefully, and wonders the context of that statement. Says, let them protest if they feel aggrieved about any policy of government.
Well, let's go to the next talking point, Kadi, and this time, threatening protesters undermines President Tinubu's legacy. It's Amnesty International speaking this time around, and let's take the first reaction, which is from Gorilla. Gorilla says, let the president allow us to enjoy the same benefits he enjoys during Jonathan's administration, provide security, and let's protest in peace.
Well, the sentiment is quite
Speaking
consistent.
truth to power now.
Well, yeah, Tony Aja also says if every citizen has a right to protest, it's constitutional. So you can get a sense of what is being talked about on social media about this one.
Yeah, and this next one is from the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, backing the planned nationwide protest, warns against violence. And this first person, who is Imam Jr., says, supporting peaceful protests for a just cause is commendable.
Absolutely. Well, you may have seen the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and the governor of Abia State, just side by side. Yes, they may be in the same party, but their opinions regarding this planned protest quite divergent. So this next user, David Martin, CEO, says, my own is if you're going out to protest, please don't loot your fellow ordinary Nigerian.
And that's quite instructive. The thinking of, the chief security officer of a state is quite different from that of a politician. Let's go to this next one, which is from another, ex-Labour Party member now who has defected, who has dumped Labour Party. We don't know where his destination is, and who is Kenneth Okonkwo, the actor, and I believe one of the legal advisors of the party or members at the time. And he's the first person reacting is Chineze, who says, choosing to part ways with your club is allowed, but that doesn't mean the club will stop existing. All the best in your next pursuit, sir.
Well, this is one issue that seems to be dividing, will I say Labour Party or the obedience? And this next user, I am Abode, says, I think he understands or understood what he was saying, but leaving the party is not a good option.
Indeed. It came as a big shock to Nigerians in general, not just Labour Party members, because it was quite active, selling the party and the candidate. The next talking point is on bags of rice donated by the president, the federal government, repackaged in Kogi and sold out to residents. But let's have that video first.
Please, I want you people to come to our aid. This federal government food here, and they are changing it and share it to the market. They are changing not for sale, and now they are changing it to another bag. They wanted to sell it in the market, but we hijacked them here that they will not take the food out until they share the food to the people that are supposed to be. And the person said it that he have the allocation from Ministry of Agri. Please, I want you to come to our aid. We want you to come to our aid. This is what they are doing.
So you can hear the narration on that video. Just says what it is, essentially. So it's important to get clarification. And you can see they're going ahead to even show those bags and say that, well, this is what is inscribed on it. Why is it being repackaged to be sold? So, one, the Kogi State government, if this is indeed a Kogi State issue, should speak. Whoever it is at the federal government also responsible for this.
And if you look closely at that video, you would see that there was some, first of all, being highlighted by the camera that had the tag of the federal government on it, and then you see, that the other bags are open, which is, evidence of it being repackaged. So let's go to the first person talking, and who is Prince, by the way. And Prince says, Kogi people are really passing through a lot. These are very tough times for them all. And do you see, this is your Ume Wokedi says, why didn't the donor put a proper oversight system in place before donating? Saying this is a donation is even another thing entirely. This is what these people deserve to get. In fact, they don't deserve to get this, they deserve more. But take a look at what the user goes on to say. Meanwhile, the Tinubu government didn't donate the bags of rice. They distributed a little of what belongs to the people. Oh, you took it right out of my mouth. The money for the rice is not from their pockets, it's from government coffers. I don't know what to make of that, Kadi. But that ends, I believe.
Yeah. That's as much we can take at least for now of your comments, but keep them coming in. There's quite a number of things to talk about and to find solutions to at this point. So be a part of the problem solver for Nigeria. Send in your thoughts and comments, #CTV Morning Brief, or you can do that on WhatsApp. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, begin with a big topic. Yes, there's no shying away from that, and that's in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Our first conversation has to do with the resurgence of queues at filling stations across places like Lagos and the FCT. That's why we're being joined in the program by the National President of the Petroleum Product Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, Petron, Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Harry, thanks, and thank you again, as always, for coming through for us whenever we call on you at these moments.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So I had to go to the NNPCL to read what they said, and they said this recent issue with fuel scarcity is as a result of hitch in the discharge operations of a couple of vessels. My question to you, Mr. Harry, is this a fancy word for another level of inefficiency within the NNPCL, or this is admissible, plausible excuse?
Well, first, I do not think it's a new fancy word. I think it's just trying to explain what exactly is wrong, what is needing to be repaired, and what attention NNPC needs to place in ensuring that there is a continuous flow of refined petroleum products. That's the case as it is.
So, because the reason I asked that question is because I think we've had you maybe about a month ago or so, if I remember very well, on this same issue when we were touting the issue of mother vessel, daughter vessel, and all the weather lightning issues, and it looks like this is becoming like too frequent. Don't you think so?
Well, in my opinion, we need to do better to mitigate this type of challenges, and we encourage NNPC to do more and to try to get this particular glitch out of the play. because it really should not be a situation where we get repeated challenges on the same matter when we could have done better with maybe forward planning or very proactive action to ensure that we have our logistics matters properly handled.
Well, Mr. Gillis-Harry, what would a hitch in the discharge of vessel, the product on vessels mean? What's the implication of it for the supply of the product?
Well, the implication is it's a little bit complex, but I will try to explain it in a layman's language if possible. If a vessel brings in, say, about 100,000 metric tons of PMS, that vessel cannot bat in inland, so it will have to stop somewhere in the fairway buoy, and then that will be, that product will now be taken over by smaller vessels. Sometimes weather conditions make it very difficult for the batting and continuous discharge of product difficult. So the possibilities are that maybe they need to be moving around until they have a much more fair tide, and then that vessel would then bring the product into the storage facility, and then from the storage facilities, NNPC will then distribute to our association members, who will then escalate and expand the distribution to both the city and the hinterlands and the villages and the riverine marine area. So once there is a glitch in the top chain, it will definitely cascade down to the last level. So that is the challenge.
So how was this not anticipated after the last round of difficulty in getting the product to town was solved, even though for only a few weeks? The mother and the daughter vessel challenge. How was this round not anticipated?
Well, it will be difficult for me to know that, because first, like I will clearly state, there are administrative and technical logistics issues that NNPC handles by themselves. And those are, strictly their, business, process to make sure that their business is efficient. They are businessmen too. NNPC is the business organization that should have clearly defined processes. So if one problem happened last month, I doubt if the same conditions may not repeat itself. But this is where we come in to say, look, let's find a way out of the box so that our members can also, bring in products as of this time that refineries are not producing PMS in Nigeria, which we found out and which we encourage should be stopped, because we have about 4 refineries coming off stream. We should be able to encourage these refineries by all means to make sure that there is in-country production of PMS. But that is the situation. I'm sure that there is still an element of government bureaucracy in NNPC, being that it's still a sovereign company that is, a company that's also managing ourselves well. So I will, give it to them for the explanations that the logistics issues are the matter, and then hope, that this will be mitigated as fast and as soon as possible, so that we can help in making sure that the petroleum product is distributed fast enough to as many retail outlets as possible to solve Nigeria's energy needs.
I think we should step back a bit and just look at what we've been going through for over a month, 2 months plus now. And I know the last time we had a conversation with you was on this same issue. And I must say that for a lot of people, things have not remained the same. Even when, at that time, the NNPCL had put up a statement regarding the mother and daughter vessel, the weather conditions, the floods and all of that affecting the supply. Things have not gotten better for a lot of people going to filling stations around them. Some of them don't even have petrol. I've not had petrol for weeks. And this is speaking from a position of authority. Some of them have been selling at, you know, just seemingly outrageous prices, over 800. In fact, some are reporting over 1,000 naira. So things have not really remained the same ever since that period. And I'm talking over a month ago. So this hitch is just making a terrible situation even much worse. And it goes back to that question about what exactly is going on. Are we saying it as it really is? People look at that sector, they see the back and forth between NNPCL and Dangote refinery. They see that, oh, the Port Harcourt refinery is meant to start bringing out products. I mean, they've shifted deadlines, but they say this month, or this coming month at least. Dangote also says this month, but they've seen the bickering. So they're wondering, obviously there is more to this than meets the eye. This statement, the short statement, does not in any way resolve the questions on the minds of Nigerians. So the question again is, are we saying what the real issues are?
Well, I mean, for instance, if I were to tell you that you came to my retail outlet and I told you that there is no diesel in my generator, and that's why I cannot sell to you from the pump. Certainly, you have the recourse. You can report me to NMDPRA or quickly call the task force of the State Ministry of Energy. And I'm sure that with some of the speed we have seen them respond to this, they will be at my station and they can test to know whether what we are saying, whether what my manager is saying is true or not. But it's not the same with when you have just only one company importing PMS into Nigeria for us to use. It's not the same. And the trouble is, the difficulty is coming in the high sea. It's not where you can use a canoe to paddle and go to check, or you take a speedboat, or even hire a dinghy. You have to make very significant investment, even to make that kind of investigation. So we are stuck and we must depend on what NNP tells us. The only way to solve this is we should have as many sources of products coming into Nigeria. And the challenge there is that we do not have access to pay for this product. Not that we are in any way short of offers. Petron, for instance, have more than 5 offers from 5 different refineries offering to give us over 100,000 metric tons a month of 3 different kinds of products, including ATK. So it will be difficult to unravel what the scenario is, except for us, for instance, we do not doubt NNPC because we are their partners.
Right.
And if we get informed, that they are having a challenge,
right.
Our job will be to see if we can provide solutions to that.
Let me come in here. Quite a number of issues you've raised, but we have to quickly breeze through. So you talked about you're willing, members are willing, but there's issues with how to pay, if I got you correctly. So what exactly does that mean? Is it in terms of getting Forex?
Well, what that means is that we have Nigerian naira here.
Right.
We have Nigerian naira to pay for any size of product that's coming.
But you're not getting the Forex.
It cannot be exchanged to US dollar or British pounds to pay for products or, Bahrain dinar. So that is the challenge. We can only do that through the central bank.
So what is happening with the central bank? Is the central bank saying we can't give you at the rate which you want?
We have applied.
Okay. What rate? What rate are you applying for?
We can only get the rate that is applicable in the CBN. And if we
what is that?
Apply,
is it 1.5 or less than that?
Well, the official price at the time we started discussing this with the central bank was, I think, about $600 something. And today, the naira is floated. So the prices that you will get will be what that price will be on that day. And then, of course, it's not what you just apply one day to get. You have to go through a whole system. You have to bring in all the information that is required.
All right, Mr. Harry, I remember that we're totally out of time. I understand that we're totally out of time. I remember the president had told Labour, if you want me to pay 250,000 naira, I will increase PMS price. So that calls to question whether the sector has really been deregulated as touted by the government. And then maybe in 30 seconds, when we see all this, because I bought fuel the other day for 710 and I was surprised. And sometimes it feels like some of these things that happen is a backdoor to hiking prices. Is that what it is?
No. My answer is no, because if there is going to be a hike in price, it will be a simple, straightforward announcement and policy, policy announcement that should be able to be effective. So as of this today, NMPC has never changed price even by 1 cent, by 1 naira.
All right. We're totally out of time, Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry, the president or national president of Petran. We must thank you so much for coming on the program, and we hope that this wouldn't last longer than it's expected to be. Thank you, sir.
Long time. How are you? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it will be time to talk about the state of the nation and the polity, especially as it has to do with what is going on with governance and anticipated nationwide protests. Join us again.
Police Establishment Act of 2020, Section 83, subsection 4, that during protest, the police shall provide adequate security for the protesters. That is the law. So what should be done, or what is expected, if there's going to be a protest and there's an announcement, is to ask the protesters, where do you want to gather, so that the police can surround the place and ensure that hoodlums, so-called, or thugs, normally employed by politicians, deployed by politicians during election, will not take advantage of genuine protests in the country. And I think that is what the government should do now. Try and identify the organizer and collaborate with them to ensure that violence will not occur. How do you identify those who are issuing statements, those who are planning the protest, and then engage with them productively? And then the questions being raised, there are demands that are being made. The government should address this demand. And between now and the 1st of August, it's still a long way.
The level of violence being envisaged can only be described as a state of anarchy. The armed forces on its part will not stand by and allow anarchy to befall our nation. This is because we have seen wars and have witnessed anarchy in countries in which we have operated, particularly during the times of ECOMOG or during our peacekeeping operations in various countries. I believe that some people out there may fantasize about war or state of anarchy, thinking that it is like what they see in the movies. I assure you that war or a state of anarchy is not what you see in the movies. It involves real people, real situations, and real life.
Well, different angles to this debate, to protest or not to protest. Well, the days are counting up until the planned protest in August, and it's important to bring in all of the sides. And I think the goal here should be, one, fixing the economy, ensuring that Nigerians get at least a better end of the stick. We have joining us for the next leg of the conversation a former presidential aspirant of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Adamu Garba, is a businessman, as a politician as well. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, Mr. Garba.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, looks like you're out of your sabbatical, or you've returned from the sabbatical, which you earlier put up on social media. And what a time to be back, really. So let's get deep into this one. People are saying there needs to be some sort of demonstration, just so that government will hear their voice, if they've not heard it before, hear that we're going through challenges and we need these challenges sorted, right? So that is on the one hand. But for the government, as we've heard, they're saying, well, I think now is a time to just hold off a bit so things don't go badly. So just before I get your thoughts on this one, let me also bring in our second guest. We have joining us Honorable Ikenna Azumchine, a former governorship candidate, PDP Anambra State, is popularly known as Obedient General for New Nigeria. Welcome to the program, Honorable.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
So let me go back to Mr. Garba and just ask you, do you feel the pains of those who are calling for protests? A lot of them said they will be peaceful. Do you resonate with their demands? And I wonder, what is it that you do not agree with, if there is any at all? Mr. Garba.
Thank you very much for this question. I believe that there is no Nigerian today that is not feeling the pain, you know, of the situation we are facing. And also, the demand that they want to protest is actually enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But again, in as much as you have right to protest, you have responsibility to ask question, why do you want to protest? That is also a responsibility on you. You need to understand what happened and why do you have to go out on the street and protest. Now, most of the demands of the protesters or the alleged those that are planning to protest, are demanding on two things. Mostly has to do with food issue and energy issue, the food inflation and energy security issue. Now, when you go back to the food side, there are too many things that are interconnected that is causing the rise of food pricing in Nigeria. One of which is the most critical, and it has to do with the global economic dynamics and the global geopolitical changes that is happening, especially as a result of the Russian-Ukrainian war. The Russian-Ukrainian war is actually one of the things that precipitated and exacerbated the food inflation globally. Why? Because Russia and Ukraine combined supply nearly 80% of the grains and the fertilizer that we use in agricultural production. So a situation whereby there is global disruption of the supply chain around that axis, it sends a ripple effect across the globe on the rising global food prices. And that is why we are seeing high amount of grain prices in Nigeria. Why? Because there is no country in the world that can exist in isolation. All of us are interconnected global supply chains, and we have to exchange goods and services before we can survive. And that is where the problem is coming from the global perspective. And from the internal socio-political and economic dynamics, we have saboteur in Nigeria. Because of the coming of this administration, there are several reforms that have taken place that several former head of states are unable to summon the courage to do that, especially when you come to the central bank reform policy that took place where we now unify our exchange rate. The unification of the exchange rate exposed some unpatriotic citizens to lack of getting the monies they need in order to continue to profiteer with getting subsidy of dollars. So what they resorted to do is to go into our market with their naira, buy high amount of food, store it in their stores, and eventually make arrangement for the export of this food, sometimes even through illegal corridors outside the country for them to get the forex that they will need to bring in back and begin to trade. That is where the biggest problem started. That is why you see sometimes you go to buy something common as pepe, you won't find it in the market. Or if you find one, you have it at like maybe something that you used to buy for 15 naira, you have to spend 500 naira to buy it. Why? Because there's scarcity, which is a normal economics. So there is scarcity. Some of these things are, but they came to the market, they buy this thing at exorbitant prices, they export it in order for them to get the exchange, to get forex that they don't get from CBN anymore.
Well, Mr.
And that is why it is an issue that is affecting us, all of us as Nigerians, and our support should be to continue to back the president in order for us to have stability, not to go out on the street and further exacerbate the situation.
Right, I want us to have a good back and forth on this one so we can present all of the views. But the two major drivers of food inflation in Nigeria, and that has been proven time and again, one is the removal of petrol subsidy. Petrol, you know how much petrol sells for. So naturally, that cost has been pushed, so it's increased transport cost and the rest. Second is the depreciation of the naira. Right, that's also a big one. We can also talk about insecurity. Farmers cannot go to to the farms. Consequently, they're not able to produce, and that has depreciated, the produce in the market. So those are the three main drivers, and a lot of them are domestic in nature. This is even before talking about the global issues. Nigeria is able to fend and take care of itself in terms of food, but we're not able to because of some of these reasons. But let me go to Honorable and get his opinion on this. Then I'll come back to you. I just wanted to put in those facts as well. So, Honorable Azomchine, well, he said that some of these things are being... Right. He said that some of these things are being worked on by the government. And the fear time and again is that, well, if these things are being worked on, why then hit the streets to make this situation worse? And, well, if that happens, then we're not able to even fix the problems. We'll have more problems on our hands, Honorable. Honorable Azomchine.
Please.
Yeah,
yes, I'm with you.
Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would argue with Garba sincerely because Ukraine and Nigeria, we don't even belong to the same continent. Our problem is in-house. I think that the ruling APC must ask questions about why the farmlands in Benue, Plateau, Taraba, Yola, Adamawa, why the insecurity and dislodging of the locals there is persisting. You have to ask yourself, if I buy a trailer of yam for example, in Taraba, how much is it going to cost me to get it down to Port Harcourt? How many roadblocks will you meet on the road as you're heading to Port Harcourt? These are the issues here. You have the produce guys, you have the local government, you have the emblem, you have all these gangs on the road. Citizens are suffering. Let's go to the real issues. It's not about the price of grains in Ukraine, how the well. We don't have any business with Ukraine and feeding Nigeria. Nigeria has all the lands and the fertile grounds to farm whatever it produces and it wants to feed its people with. The issue we have here is hunger, starvation. People are not able to move. Ask Garba to buy a trailer load of yam or goat and live wherever he is in the north and find his way to the other part of the country and then tell us how much he would have expended by the time he arrives his destination and add it to the cost of the food. Nigerians are suffering. Let's all leave political brouhaha and be honest to ourselves. I think it's time that we deal with the real issues, gentlemen. Even you, the journalist now, how much is your salary? You have 2, 3 kids in school? How much is their backpack? The police officers who you are now sending to go and, protect stand against the protest. The least police officer earns about 60,000 or thereabouts. The nearest school to his home. Private school, the cheapest will be 50,000 for a term. Please, you really go to the streets. We are always in the streets in Nigeria. We know we are a hot sauce. I'm not going to come here to argue on irrelevant issues. I want the government to engage those people who are agitated. Everybody is crying out. You cannot blame P2B or blame Atiku or blame anybody. The condition in the country is biting everybody. And I said it last time when I appeared on one of the channels. I said, by 2027, we will not need to tell Nigerians who to vote for because hunger would have corrected our psyches. And nobody is encouraging any violence. People who are determined to protest are people who can't live anymore. They can't survive anymore. They are grasping for bread across board, north, east, west, even the southwesterners.
All right. Mr. Kenna, you are obviously calling for the protest, and there are some other leaders of the protest who are also calling for the protest, but they're not necessarily resident in Nigeria. And questions are being asked about how they're going to participate in the protest, and they're going to face, the challenge posed by security agents, which some of them believe are in the form of, threats for them not to come out to protest. So how are you going to solidarize, really, with young Nigerians, well, the generality of Nigerians who are going to be on the streets protesting if you're not outside, if you're not in the country?
I am always in the country. I had an holiday with my daughter, and this daughter I've not seen for 18 years. So that's not about it. What I'm talking about is that there were accusations that obedience were on P2B was, insinuating and sponsoring. This is a complete false narrative. P2B, if you know P2B, P2B will never even encourage you to go and protest for your own election that you felt that you were disenfranchised. That's a total wrong assertion. What I think the government should do right now is to call the stakeholders. It's not late to engage the protesters. Nobody is encouraging anybody to go and protest and loot. The government should even be proactive to stop those that are planning to, get into the protesters and cause mayhem. I believe that our security agencies are on top of their game. Nobody is encouraging anyone to go and protest and commit crime. People have the right of protest, of course.
Indeed, but if you're that confident, will you be in the country anytime between August the 1st and the 10th to be in the front lines along with other Nigerians who are determined to protest?
Those who know me know that I stand for the truth. I have always said it. I left Nigeria just 2 weeks ago. I am not running away. I'm not encouraging anyone to go and protest, but like I said, obedience. We in with supporters of P2B, we have not encouraged anyone to go and protest and commit any crime. If you want to protest, stay within the laws. Listen to the security agencies. Make sure you are law-abiding, and this is your right to protest. Nobody why should I be running away when I know that I can't fuel my car? Nobody is running away. That's out of it. We are talking about the real issues. Let's go to those officers who would get a pass in Maiduguri and had to pay the salary. The transport fare is already the salary they are getting. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell those men in the trenches that their wives will be calling at the midnight call that they need food? Let's go to the real issues.
All right, Mr. Kenna,
the politicians must understand that Nigerians are hungry. That's just what I want to air out here, not about politics. Let's leave politics alone.
All right, let's take it back to Mr. Garba. Mr. Garba, Nigeria generally has a very low trust quotient for her leaders, and they have a good reason to be not to trust their leaders, given the fact that we've always said that, let's begin from 1999 to now, I don't know how many leaders have made our lives better in terms of improvements, in terms of prices. It keeps going up and never goes down. That's on one hand. There's also the abysmal, protracted legacy issues that the Nigerian state has not resolved, such as electricity, such as infrastructure, and the list goes on. Then the Tinubu administration came and liberalized trade, such as removing subsidy and said, look, we can't pay anymore because we have cash crunch, and of course there's corruption in that area, and then floated the naira. So, but at the end of the day as well, we don't have empirically supported data to say this is how far, this is how long it will take, and these are the possible outcomes. And when you come to a conversation, an engagement with these points, and you don't, is it that you don't expect a mass action in terms of pushback? Because that will call to question your scenario planning. Don't you think so?
Is like the last speaker, Mr. Ikenna, has highlighted and the need for protests to continue. Simply, this shows, but he's sitting outside the country. So these are the kind of people that are pushing this narrative without understanding and appreciating the effort that is being undertaken by Mr. President. If you go back to the history and track the trajectory of subsidy in Nigeria, almost every government have approached to incremental removal of oil subsidy. From the Obasanjo regime to Yaradua to Jonathan to Buhari and now to Tinubu. If you go back and see how they remove it, they will remove subsidy. I think by 2007 when Obasanjo was leaving office, the cost for subsidy that was paid in that 2007 was about 307 billion. Now when Jonathan was leaving in 2015, the cost of subsidy was like 1.7 trillion. Even though there is incremental removal, maybe from subsidizing 10 naira to removing it to 5 naira, yet the cost to pay in terms of subsidy again get increased. So it doesn't reduce. So what the president do is that he said he cannot continue to tolerate that rubbish any longer. This money must go back to Nigerians. And that is why he flattened the subsidy at one point so that nobody will have any issue to say that he will have to go and, plan their way to steal Nigerians' money in the name of subsidy. But again, there are some processes that must be put in place for this money to get to the grassroots. One of these processes was giving the autonomy of the local government council that you see today. That autonomy of the local government is an opportunity for the president to reach out directly to the grassroots and send all the necessary support that is required so that development objectives can reach a common man on the street. The same talk that he did, Mr. Ikenna, about the fact that when you carry goods from Taraba and you are trying to take it to the southern part of the country, the cost gets higher. There is a comprehensive program that is supposed to be organized, which is being organized by the local government council, whereby you have only one payment for the goods that you carry from one location to any other location in the country without being stored by any other person on the way. But it cannot be implemented until local government have their autonomies. And now that they have the autonomy, this program can go on. So there are so many other things that are taking place gradually, and you don't expect the reform action to just take place like magic. What we need to do is to trust somebody like the president that we have today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has the courage and the will to be able to execute something that even military generals could not do in the past. So what we need to do is to give him a fair understanding the fact that removing fuel subsidy itself is injurious to some cabals and cartels in this country, because the monies that they used to get will no longer go to their pocket. And what they save will be diverted to making sure that this subsidy get back so that they can continue to run our country dry. And that is why if you look at the end bad governance protest that they are planning, the first thing on the line item was returning back the fuel subsidy. This even begs the question to ask, does that mean that these subsidy cartel are the ones that are actually sponsoring this end bad governance protest? Are Nigerians being used as gullible assets to be able to perpetrate agenda of the cartel that otherwise suck Nigeria dry through the back door in the name of subsidy, simply because Mr. President have the courage to deal with them and in favor of Nigerians? So what we need to do is to look at our president, Look at him deeply and look at what he is doing. He meant very well for this country, and he wants to make sure that these monies get to the grassroots, but it cannot go without some constitutional checks and balances.
If I may button, Mr. Garba, so let me explain to you what is going on. So in 2016 also we had a recession. It was a tough time for our country. But within the last 1 year of President Bola Tinubu, it is even tougher in the last 1 year than even that entire recession. By the numbers, and I mean all of the major numbers in terms of macroeconomic data. And Nigerians have looked at it and said, what triggered it? It's fuel subsidy removal and floating of the naira when we haven't been able to resolve the protracted legacy issue. I was very deliberate with my question and you haven't answered it. I said, Nigeria has trust quotient issue. They don't trust their leaders. They don't trust President Bola Tinubu. It has nothing to do with him. It's just the way Nigerians perceive their leaders. And the second part is we have protracted legacy issue that no matter what you do, if these issues are not resolved, it's going to be difficult. That's why the global north, as I give as example, and the Eurozone, they can have a target to go to 2% inflation rate because their legacy issues to a large extent have been resolved. So when they put measures, they can measure it and say, within this time, it can happen. So my question is, are you seeing enough clarity to say in the next 2 years or 6 months or how many, whatever time you want to put, this is where we're going to be as a country? Because that's a question that when we ask people in government and supporters of the government, it appears you guys are evasive to it. Give us an answer.
You see, the situation is that Nigeria's issue is a systematic issue. And that is why, as you rightly said, the trust in politicians, even by World Economic Forum standard, out of 140 countries that is surveyed, I think Nigeria emerged around 138. So very low. Nigerians don't trust their politicians. They don't trust leaders generally. Why? Because the system is designed to make sure that everything rotates back at the center. And that is what is contributing to the high cost of government. Although people think it's high cost of governance, it's not actually governance, it's the high cost of government. Where you see a minister with 50 fleet of cars, you see some members of assembly with 20 fleets of cars, some DG with 30 fleet of cars, several expensive lifestyles. That is actually what is spoiling this discontent, which is what we, even us, are calling that some austerity measures need to be declared so that there can be some structural arrangement to limit the capacity of these holders of public offices in terms of using a kind of the resources at their disposal by channeling it more to productive means as opposed to the consumption area. So this is it. So there is a systematic issue. The constitutional design, the making of the country makes everything to gravitate to the center. And what President Tinubu is doing is trying to make sure that there is this decentralization of the resources through the same mechanism that makes the system come completely to the center. And that is why if you look at what the current National Assembly is doing in collaboration with the executive, is to see that there is a massive constitutional amendment that will cater for systematic change that will bring about this catalyst. But the truth of the matter is, as the system is now, if we say we are coming on the street to force that we should reverse back to the previous era where we have gone beyond, thank God that even the protesters are saying take it back. They want to take us back. They want to carry us and push us backward. We will never go backward. We will always go forward. But the issue is that we have to fix the system. So the systematic structure of Nigeria is fundamentally faulty, and it is designed to make sure that the leaders are set against ordinary people. And that is why it is important for the constitution to be amended so that we can have a more people-centric, productive-centric governance where people can benefit from the dividend of democracy, as you have seen, as you said, in the global north.
Well,
and the situation where you have a systematic failure is actually similar to what is happening in all global south countries, including Nigeria.
All right,
but
Mr.
Nigeria
Garba
now have a leader who is determined to do the right thing, and I think we need to give him chance to implement those policies without disrupting the process that he has already undertaken that will put Nigeria on the path to progress and prosperity.
All right, Mr. Garba, I think another question has been, so what will the chance look like? How long is this chance meant to be? Is the government saying, don't worry, give us 2 years. After 2 years, we'll solve this. So just saying, give us chance, be patient. without a time frame to it. I think that's also been another question. But just a moment, let me take this to Honorable Azobchine so they can respond to some of the points you've made. First, about those backing this protest. Honorable Mr. Garba believes that might just be people who are benefiting from what has been described as a subsidy scam in the past that are also behind this protest, saying return subsidy, you know, take us back. That was one of the points he made. That's on the one hand. On the second hand is, you can then confirm if those are some of the demands that you have, at least from your end of this, because there are lots of groups involved in this. So is that one of the demands? Subsidies should be returned. Add to that the sort of disagreement or divergent opinion between your leader, Mr. Peter Obi, and one of the major leaders of your party, Governor Oti of Abia State, over this protest. Mr. Peter Obi backing the protest, but Governor Oti saying, well, rather than protest, let's have a conversation. So it's quite a lot on your plate, Honorable.
You're asking me as if I'm part of those planning the protest. I am not part of those planning the protest, but I'm here to clarify the fact that obedience, the ones I belong to, have not encouraged anyone to plan any protest.
Also, you do not support the protest.
At the same time, we are not telling them not to protest. If you must protest, it's within the law for you to air your views in the manner that you do not break the law. That's what we are saying.
So you will not be protesting. The obedience will not be protesting. Is that what you mean? The
obedience, the ones that feel like obedience are the common people, the Okada drivers, the people who are hungry. You don't know, but for me, obedience are those people I meet every day that are asking me to help them feed. Let me go back to what he was talking about. I went to secondary school and primary school in Nigeria. My school fees was 120 naira then, not long ago. Most of the people in the armed forces today paid the same school fees. We got egg, we got milk, we got food for 3 months in one of the federal schools. Are we not being, wicked to our younger ones today? Where are the unity schools? Can people feed themselves? We have to go to the real issues and make sure we don't get involved in political wranglings and forget that people are hungry. I've always maintained that you have to demonstrate in a peaceful manner and make sure you do not participate in looting, do not break the law. The security agencies must make sure they protect Nigerians. Nobody wants Nigeria to be in chaos. Nobody.
Right. So
but I always say this, my last take.
Right.
I said it in my different interviews that by 2027, Nigerians will not need anybody to tell them who to vote for. By then, hunger would have corrected our side. I'm not here to argue or be accused of running away. I've lived in Nigeria for the past 14 years, and I will remain in Nigeria and keep telling Nigerians the truth. I supported Peter Obi because I was in PDP for the past 20-something years. I've worked for different presidential aspirants from the north, from wherever. But now, my instincts is telling me that this man, Peter Obi, has what it takes to move us from consumption to production. And that was what caught my sight.
Well,
I don't know why the Garba, what he sees in his president, but this was why I'm obedient.
Well, I think everybody's entitled. I think everybody's entitled to support whomever they want to support.
Country first.
All right, Honorable, I think everybody has a choice. That's why it's democracy. You have a choice. You can choose who you want to support. And it looks like you're painting a grim picture for Nigeria and saying that hunger will correct, their decisions. I'm not sure that is palatable, and pun intended there, for Nigerians, projecting that they will be hungry for the coming years. I imagine that's not what you want to say.
I'm hungry too, I can tell you.
Well, some will disagree with you
2 weeks ago,
on that
I had to fuel my car. Listen.
All right. No, I want us to speak to the issues.
I had to fuel my car 45 to 50,000 naira instead of 12,000 naira. Okay. This is my concern.
All right. I think we're well aware of the condition where you are at. You said you went for vacation to visit, so it's understandable. And that's not even the point that we're trying to speak to here. We're speaking to the condition here in Nigeria. So let me take this to Mr. Garba quickly. To make a bad situation worse, and this is a challenge a lot of Nigerians have in terms of timing and planning. Now, Nigerians have to face petrol scarcity. I mean, this is a time you'd expect that all hands will be on deck from government to ensure that these issues that may even spark anger in the slightest manner are resolved. So doesn't that question yet again the thinking, the planning, the coordination in government, that we're back to this point facing fuel scarcity when things are meant to be easing? Mr. Garba, I'm sure you are also facing that where you are.
Yes, thank you for this question. And I really like the way you answered Mr. Ken, who is enjoying himself somewhere outside the country, yet trying to campaign for Peter Obi when they lost their election. Instead of them to be thinking of what they can do in 2027, they are now still busy campaigning after losing the election. I don't understand why he has to come to TV and be campaigning over losing a candidate that have lost. Then again, the subsidy you mentioned, the issue that you mentioned, that is why I started by saying that we need to question the subsidy cartel. Are they the ones foiling this protest? Why is it that if we have interconnection of businesses before fuel can come into this country, at the point when we are having a choke point, when Nigerians are crying and threatening to come to the street to start protesting, and some people are trying to deny fuel, right? So I think we Nigerians, we the patriots, should have to look at this as some people, some group of saboteurs that are doing everything possible to attack this government and bring down our peace, you know, and turn it into chaos. So we should not let them, because the situation whereby you have
role of government,
expenses in food, expenses in transportation,
that is the role of government, not everyday Nigerians. We can't go to the high sea, we can't oversight the NMPCL. That's why we elected a government. And the NMPCL is owned by government, the Ministry of Finance, Inc., the Ministry of Petroleum, Inc. So the government should be the one responsible.
Of course. No, they should be responsible. You are completely right. But Nigerians should also give understanding. They should question the entire motive around the entire situation. That's what I'm saying. And like you said, again, about timeline, I believe, from my own perspective as a private citizen, I believe the government should declare austerity measures. The cost of government is too high. A situation whereby we spend too much to run government is very expensive. Like, as I mentioned, fleet of cars, some lifestyles that doesn't make sense coming on public media. I think we need to have some symbolic representation of cutting down, you know, on the cost of government. Not cost of governance. Let's allow the governance to run, but the cost of government itself. And the second thing, again, is we cannot be tied down to the dollar-denominated markets. Since we have options in a multipolar world where we have the emergence of countries like BRICS, like alliances like BRICS, bodies like BRICS, a situation that, you know, just few years ago, 2 years ago, there was prediction that Egypt is going down, Ethiopia is going down, South Africa is going down due to these economic measures that they have found themselves. By joining the BRICS, they are able to explore another trading window where they use their local currencies in exchange for what they need to import or export. So I think Nigeria needs to look into that direction. We have to start to actively move towards the alliance of the multipolar order that will give us options not to 100% be dependent on the dollar-denominated market of the West.
Pardon me if I may come in there. Joining BRICS may even be more futuristic, you know, than even the expected results of the current policies of this administration. In your reference to subsidy and your commendation for the president for removing subsidy, that may be debatable, particularly because major marketers are saying that the current landing cost of petrol is 1,117 naira, and you know petrol currently is selling for 850 naira, and you know the stabilization document released by the Ministry of Finance currently, analysis of that document by some experts to the effect that the federal government may be paying subsidy to the tune of 5.4 trillion naira in 2024 alone. So are you saying that by this, the federal government is still not paying subsidy even as we speak?
No, based on the release of the analysis, if we really go back to paying subsidy, then it's unfortunate that the saboteurs have won the battle, and it's something that we should not let them. This is the money that should go to the building of our hospitals abroad and schools, strengthening our institutions, and giving a lot of support to the military and the police to ensure peace and prosperity and security of our borders. You know, this is where the money is supposed to go to. But the situation whereby we have this thing coming back again, then is actually very unfortunate. And that is why personally I am 100%, and I believe like most patriotic Nigerians, we are 100% in support of the stand of the complete extinguishing of public subsidy from our books.
So the federal government, your party has not summoned the willingness, the political will rather, to remove fuel subsidy.
But it's not that the party didn't. I think this is the party that have done one of the best things in this country, especially under the leadership of President Suwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. On the first day of his inauguration, the first attack was removal of oil subsidy. That is a very strong courage. I don't know what courage Nigerians are looking for beyond that. But it's unfortunate that because of the machination of this cabal, of these saboteurs, they are able to manipulate a system whereby, you know, Nigerians begin to see the removal of oil subsidy as against them, as opposed to be for them. And I will admit that we also, as a party, we didn't really work hard to communicate these things properly to the people so that they can see the value in the removal of subsidy. And began to imagine how we can use these resources effectively to better the life of common Nigerians.
Mr. Garba, we're totally out of time.
This is why we lost the information. Yes.
My apologies. Let's take it to Mr. Ekena so he can have his last take on this one as well. Mr. Ekena, maybe you respond to some of the things Mr. Garba has said, and also be very clear. I know you said you're not leading, or your group of obedience are not leading the protest, but you support the protest. If you were to itemize 5 things, because one of the things the government has started is the fact that there's no clarity as to the demands. Though we've seen some things they call the charter of demand or something like that across social media. So if you were to itemize 5 things that the president can do right now, because really nobody wants to protest if things are working. Nobody will wake up and want to protest. And if certain actions are taken, perhaps things, this protest will be called off. Nobody wants to see things go south after peaceful protesters go on the streets at the end of the day. So if there were like 5 things you expect this government to do right now to make these young people to say, okay, we've seen action, we can give them time as they requested, what will it be?
First of all, let me be very frank as a true Nigerian. Let me quickly address Garba. Garba, I grew up in northern Nigeria. I'm Igbo. I speak Hausa fluently. I will tell you one adage in Hausa. Ka gaya ma mutane ka zaka ba su abinci, zaka ba su alheri, zaka bude musu hanya, abubuwa za su zo wurin su. Let me translate. You came on the mantle that you take Nigerians to a better place, that you give them food, you provide succor, you provide the enabling environment for them to thrive. 1 year on, you have not done that. Why are you blaming us? Why are you telling me that I'm part of those encouraging protests? Nigerians, even in your community, people are hungry. So let's leave it there. You also claim that we lost the election. You that won the election, why are you now allowing us to suffer? Do the right things. If you are doing the right things, Nigerians will call you out. Let me leave it on that part. If I were the government today,
Ken, you are not.
Hold on. Let me finish, please. If I were to be,
you are not suffering.
Today,
you look clean.
Let me just.
You look rich.
Let me say,
you are better, well
trimmed.
You are living in a foreign land.
No, allow me to finish.
Allow
me to finish. You don't know my background. You don't know why I'm here. I've been living outside Nigeria for the past 30 years, but I've remained in Nigeria. So you don't have to accuse me of what I'm not. Allow me to finish. If I were to be in APC today, first of all, you call on the stakeholders. You go directly to why is insecurity in the states persisting? Open up the agrarian roads. Make sure there is no herdsmen farmers crisis. Make sure the food can get to the consumers wherever they are. Make sure that your policies towards import and export is reasonable. I wouldn't think we'll be here today, but you leave what you're supposed to do and you are pointing fingers at people ordinary who are suffering with the Nigerians.
Right.
I don't want to go that route with you. The APC government should do those things that they campaigned with.
Well,
my principal campaign on taking us from consumption to production.
Right.
You should, go straight to what you told Nigerians and make sure you give them those dividends and nobody will complain.
Well, the APC campaigned on renewed hope, so it's clear enough what the job is for them to do.
Give us the hope.
And that's what they're meant to do. But gentlemen, we have to anchor at this point. One thing is clear, governments at all levels must show empathy at this point, not just talk. They have to show it indeed and look at those pain points and ensure that they are tackled head on. I mean, Nigerians have had their lines barred yet again. There's fuel scarcity adding to all of these challenges they're facing. So government needs to show empathy. If anything right now, that is the least we expect from them. But gentlemen, we have to thank you so much. We've been speaking with Honorable Ikenna Azumchine, former governorship candidate, PDP Anambra State. It's popularly known as Obedient General for a New Nigeria. We've also been speaking with Mr. Adamu Garba, former presidential aspirant in APC and a businessman. Gentlemen, we thank you for your time on the program. A group of Nigerians, they're meant to be on a scholarship, but it looks like they're facing more of hardship than scholarship. That's the moment. Stay with us.
From the Nigerian students in Morocco, and we are here to plead with the government to please pay our money. We have been owed for over 10 months, and it's been very difficult for us to cope. We can't go to school because we don't have transport fare. We don't have feeding money. I don't know how you expect me to eat. I don't know how you expect me to study on an empty stomach. I don't know how you expect me to go to school without transport fare. The main reason why we are sent here is to study, and there are no job availabilities, nothing to do. We are not lazy students, but we don't have jobs. We can't even work. We can't do anything. Please, the Nigerian government, we are suffering. A lot of students are homeless. How do you want me to study when I don't have a roof over my head?
Indeed, from what you hear, the hardship in the land is not peculiar to Nigerians at home, but is also extending to Nigerians abroad. You just heard that soundbite from one of the students of Nigerians studying under the bilateral educational agreement, talking about what they're currently facing following the reduction of their scholarship funding by 56%, a whopping 56%. Let's get more acquainted. We understand that they're being owed. Let's get more acquainted with their situation now. Joining us is Dalhatu Tijani, yes, medical student, Hassan II University, Casablanca, Morocco. Dalhatu is also the spokesperson, Union of Bilateral Education Agreement Scholars, UNBIAS. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Indeed, it's good to have you. So many questions to ask. Want you to paint a vivid picture of your current situation now and that of other Nigerians. Perhaps it will also be important to know what the terms of your scholarship funding as stated, in the document that you filled before you began studying alongside other Nigerian students.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Permit me to take a moment to thank the Nigerian government as well as the Federal Scholarship Board and the Minister of the Ministry of Education for this opportunity. Indeed, we have realized that we have recognized that this opportunity is not given to all Nigerians, and we are the few among the many Nigerians that have applied to get this scholarship, and then we have successfully picked. So we thank you and thank the government so much for it. However, this opportunity has come with a lot of challenges, and I really thank the Channels Television for giving us the opportunity to air in our views. Right now, let me start with the second question you asked, which are the times of the conditions of the scholarship at the point of departure from Nigeria. So at the point of departure from Nigeria, we were given an award letter by the Federal Scholarship Board signed by the then director, which states that every scholar will be paid its total sum of $500 United States per month for upkeep. It also clearly states that the accommodation and the tuition fee for each scholar will be settled by the host country, because the bilateral education agreement and the host country are responsible for accommodation as well as the tuition fee. For the first part, yes, they have fulfilled their responsibilities for tuition fees, but for accommodation, it's not all the countries that have been given accommodations. So that is one. And then we have some other allowances, including I think the takeoff grant of 60,000 naira. We have a health insurance of $200 per year. And then we have $500 for medical students to augment the purchase of books and the rest also per year. And we have, I think, we also have 250 for warm clothing. That is also per annum. So the only thing we are being paid per month is $500 per month. So for the past 13 months, that was since June 2023, we have not been paid. The federal government came to pay us from January to August, but they clearly stated that due to the economic situation of the country and the fluctuation in the dollar exchange rate, they cannot afford to pay everything. So they paid till August, but we realized we had a shortfall of about $1,103. So that was the situation. So we're still having a shortfall of that just till August, and we have been owed from September to December 2023, and we have been owed right now from January till this moment as I speak to you. So I saw you're also showing the viewers the letter we received. This letter was sent by the Director of Federal Scholarship Board, signed by her. It was sent on the 23rd of July, which clearly states that due to the economic situations of Nigeria as we speak, there's going to be an adjustment from our stipend. So there will be an adjustment from $500 to $220 per month. So we are still yet to receive this adjusted amount, but because we have with the Federal Scholarship Board, they have clearly stated to us that, okay, this is just an adjustment due to the economic situations and the remaining balance will be paid. So we're still waiting to see this 220, and we still don't know when the remaining balance is going to be paid, as we have not been paid that of 2023, and in 2024, we're also having the same issues, and we still do not have an idea what is actually being put in place to avoid this same issue in 2025. So going forward, we really do not know how things are going to turn out to be, and with the fact that the dollar fluctuation is still ongoing, and we can't say if it's going to stabilize in 2025, but we hope so. So this is it. I don't know if I can discuss the challenges we are facing at the moment. Thank you.
So besides the reduction in the allowances, you're also being owed from December 2023, from what you have said.
Yes, we have been owed from September to December 2023, and a shortfall due to the same reasons that they have given right now of $1,123, and then right now we're still being owed from January till this point as I speak.
Okay, so go ahead and talk about your challenges currently and how many students are affected, if you have the numbers.
Yes, before joining this meeting, I requested from the different presidents of the different DA countries, and then we have about 39 students in China, 230 in Hungary, 429 in Morocco, 45 in Algeria, Venezuela, we have 17 students, and Russia and Serbia have not yet sent the number of students they have. Romania has not yet integrated the forum. So that is the number of the students. Right now, the issues we are facing is, like I said, we appreciate the federal government, especially the Federal Scholarship Board. We don't have an idea of what they have done to secure the release of the 220 that they are about to pay, which has not yet arrived. But then the issue right now is the money can still a long way in there. It's just like a drop in the ocean. And we can barely use it to solve the problems, the enormous problems that we are facing as we speak right now. Because we've been owed for 13 good months. And you should understand, when you have been owed for 13 good months, you have to look for other means to survive. And then people are actually taking loans or borrowing from people that they are going to pay it back with the intention that they are going to receive $500. And right now, the same reasons that were given in 2023 was given now, and we're only going to get 220. Students in Russia are basically under hard labor as we speak. Some of them are able to get jobs, but the jobs is really, really tight, and the visa condition does not also allow them to work. Even the federal government condition on us does not also permit us to work. So that is one issue, and the job they are doing is basically construction sites that will definitely affect their performance in school. People in Morocco do not have accommodation. Like I said, not all the countries provide accommodation, and as such, we spent over $250 just on accommodation. So we have been complaining federal scholarship on this regard, because you are being given 500, and then 50% of what you are being given is going into accommodation. The director assured that they will review the scholarship, and they will talk with the Moroccan government to see how they can to see how they can provide accommodation for us. But we were appealing that in the shorter time, they should augment the stipend for us so that we can cover the accommodation fees. Students in Hungary who are doing PhD and they got their visas with their family on the basis that they are being paid $500 per month, they are at the verge of missing out on the visas, because the condition that was given is that they can be able to take care of their family. But as we speak, we've been owed for 13 good months, and they're defaulting on that agreement. And right now, we're still going to have money that's not enough to settle that debt. I want to anchor on the debt. I want to emphasize on the debts that we are facing, that we are having, and that's why we are requesting that the government should look into our plight and release the remaining stipends that we have, because people have been owed. Most students actually went loan from other people. We have these agencies that students know the situations that Nigerians are going through, so they usually give money to Nigerians with interest. So if you go and borrow like $1,000 right now to settle your landlord and other things, it's still accumulating every month. So for the past 30 months, every month you are still having an interest added up to the money that you have taken. So this will definitely not go a long way, but we still appreciate that we are calling on the president to look into our plight.
All right, two quick questions. How long more does the average student have to stay in the different countries that you've mentioned that are having the part of this scholarship? That's on one hand. And since this was escalated and we've seen across social media, what has been the immediate response of the federal government, and what are the assurances you're getting from them?
Okay, with regards to your first question, I would say the average number of years a student will stay in this host country is 5 years, because degree is basically 5. And then those of us doing medicine, we have 8 years of medical studies here in Morocco. So it varies from one country to another, depending on the educational system of that particular country. With regards to the assurances we're getting for the Federal Scholarship Board, yes, we have a parent forum, which have actually sat with the Federal Scholarship Board. The director said she showed to them the list of students and how much they are being owed for 2023, and of course for the remaining balance of 2024. And she said they have sent the list for approval. So up to now, last year's one was not approved because we have not received it, and then this year we are still adding more to request for approvals, which has not yet been given from my own knowledge. The minister also came to write on his X handle to say that this money is not reduced, but rather is going to be debt on the federal government, and they will settle it to us as soon as they have the funds. So the main question right now is how soon will they get the funds while the students are languishing in hardship. We are really suffering at this point, and I speak on behalf of every student here. So we are calling on the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course through the Minister of Education and through the Director of Federal Scholarship Board, that while we appreciate this opportunity, we're calling on him to look at us as his children. These are his children that are in no man's land. We are being chased out of our apartments. We are all squatting with other people who their parents can actually afford to pay for their accommodation. We know the economic situations in the country, and every sector deserves to be given adequate attention. But we are appealing to him to see that these are his children that are in outside country and are facing severe hardship. We have young students, young females that cannot even afford to buy pads. We have young female students that we are scared probably they may go into prostitution or other illegal activities in order to make ends meet. We have young students that have been sent from 18 years last year, just in last year to a foreign land. They are still yet to adapt, and yes, they cannot have enough and sufficient funds to take care of their challenges. So, Mr. President, we are calling on you as your children. We are calling on you as a father who is listening to all of us here to please, we know that government process takes time, but we also know that you have the power to approve this fund within a minute, and everything will be paid to the students. And we believe that we are going to do so. And we thank you so much for the opportunity. We also thank Channels Television for this opportunity to air in our views. Thank you.
You know, it's one thing to be stranded, cash-strapped. It's another thing to be going through that in a foreign land. You can't just go to someone, knock on the door and say, oh, this person is my family member, I need help. You are literally lonely there without help. So I can only imagine what you're going through right now, as well as others. You know, time and again, some of you reaching out and saying, this is what we're going through, from Hungary to Morocco, Russia, and these other countries that you mentioned. I did a quick math. So if you're owing, or if you're being owed $500 for 13 months, let me know if I'm correct. That's $6,500 for 13 months. That's $500 per month? Or how can you give us a figure of just how much you're being owed as an example?
We have a total of $3,123 in 2023. And we are right now in July, which is 7 months. So we have a total of $3,500 in 2024.
So
that makes it $6,623 in total. Yes, sir.
That's just almost around that. And that's quite a lot. You said a lot of people have had to take loans and the rest. For a lot of people, they actually heard about this bilateral education agreement for the first time. They're wondering, as my colleague asked, Bukola, the terms. Would you return to the country after you're done with your studies and the rest? So those are some of the questions around that. But let's speak to the coming days now. You've talked about the possibilities for people who are not able to make ends meet. And we do not want those things to happen to them. So speak to us, your own experience, your own, at least what you have experienced so far, where you're at right now. What is the government of Morocco, or at least that end? What are they doing? Are they providing at least some accommodation for you so that at least you know that that is sorted and the rest? So speak to us about your experience and what will happen in the coming days for you.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Before I answer that, I would love to say that every Nigerian you see in the diaspora, of course, would love to come back to our dear nation to make our own impact. So with regards to that, we have a lot of students, some of whom have studied medicine, some of whom have studied nursing, pharmacy, engineering, and other courses, right now trying to sort out their license with the relevant authorities in Nigeria, and some of them are already working as well. So, and these students bring in advantage to the nation because they have exposure in other man's country, they have experience that other students who have studied in Nigeria do not have. And also we study the foreign language. So as I speak to you, I'm quite good in French, and a lot of other people are good in French. Russians are good with Russians, and other countries too are good with those languages in those countries. So that's one side. With regards to my own proper experience, is that this situation has been lingering. In 2019, I remember we did the same protest, and the then President Muhammadu Buhari approved about a total sum of $6 billion, that was 6 billion naira rather, that was settled, that was used to settle all the areas. So we just appealing on the government to kindly do same thing. We also want to be representative of Nigeria and continue to fly high the banner of Nigeria. But in doing so, we need to be adequately taken care of so that we can give our best back to our dear nation that has spent so much in training us. Thank you.
Well, I believe we're totally out of time, right? If not, we have... Maybe you should just answer this briefly. You said that the minister said that this is considered a debt and that as soon as the government has it, they will repay it. Does that mean that the federal government may be reviewing its position on what you're being owed?
I cannot say that for sure because from the explanation we are getting from the minister as well as the Federal Scholarship Board, they said the letter specifically states, the letter you were showing before, specifically states in paragraph 4 that the balances of 2023 and the balances of 2024, according to them, is the $280 per month, which they have adjusted, they have reduced, will be settled. So by going by their words, they said it's going to be settled, but we have no idea when it's going to be settled and how it's going to be settled.
Just another quick one. If you're unable to, pay pending the time that you're expecting your funds, how long more before those institutions, especially for students who are unable to secure loans, how long more before they are prevented from accessing their classes?
Okay, the bilateral education agreement is not the federal government that pays for the tuition fees, like I said earlier. So the federal government only pays for supplementation allowance to augment feeding, transportation, and other basic necessities. So the host country is expected to pay for the tuition fees, which they have been doing that over the years. We have no issues at all with them. And then the host country is supposed to also, in some countries, they give a little bit of augmentation as well. Like Morocco, I think we get a total of around $120 each 2 months, but that will not really go a long way. And then they are also responsible for accommodation. But in some cases, we don't have that accommodation, and that is the case of Morocco, and that is what we have been saying. So even from the 500 stipends that is meant to be used for feeding and transportation, we are using over 50% of it to pay in accommodation. And right now, we are only going to get that 50%. So with a lot of debts on our hands, and we don't know how to go about it. So our plea, like I said earlier, is for the government to look into our challenges, see us as their children, and be able to help us and settle
we
this
hope
as soon as possible.
Yeah, we hope that, sorry, we're totally out of time. We hope that relief comes your way soon as possible in the payment of these allowances. Dalhatu Tijani, medical student.
Thank you for your time. We also feel the general television to keep up with the follow-up so that we see to the end of this matter. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. This is the first platform we have, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Dalhatu Tijani, medical student, Hassan II University, Morocco, Casablanca, and spokesperson, Union of Bilateral Education Agreement Scholars. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have for you today. But before we go, we have some messages that we can take very quickly. The first one is from Udo Anselm, who says, every day Nigerians are suffering no food, insecurity, high inflation, no money, no employment, no electricity, no road network. Lead us well. Don't let this nation fall apart, Mr. President.
All right, Ray from Lagos. I think it is better for the government to address the food crisis with same energy they are bent on preventing peaceful protesters who intend to exercise their fundamental human rights.
Well, Wakim Arikibe also has this one, wondering why pro-government protests aren't hijacked during the PBC. People protested in support of government, but nobody talked about it being hijacked. So these are some of the comments you've sent in. We appreciate you for spending your time with us this morning. And we just want to say again, it is not fair to have people queuing on a Monday morning just to retrieve their lines. We hear queues are spiraling even onto the roads as we speak. This needs to be sorted. We have to run now. I'm Kayode Okikele.
We'll be back again tomorrow, but don't forget, stay on with us because Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka.
I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.